world to those in power. Little did I realize that many of those power-hungry people were after personal gain at the expense of those of us with our heads in the sand. The year 2020 gave me clear vision. My eyes are now open, my ears hear the cries, and my heart goes out to those who suffer needlessly. However, what I've also learned is that we must use our own discernment to keep our vibes high, to be of assistance to those who are ready to shift. If we allow ourselves to be sucked into the fear-based mode of negative energy, it lowers our ability to be of service to others. We must find ways to maintain positive energy amidst the sea of fear and negativity. We must learn to be like a cork on the waves of a pond, floating along with awareness and understanding without being taken down by the torrential pain. In a few moments, we're going to speak with a powerful yet gentle woman who has developed the ability to stay focused in the midst of chaos. Karen Cerato is the founder and manager of the New Hampshire Health and Wellness Center, of which I'm proud to be affiliated. Amidst great challenges in her own life, Karen has learned the value of holding her energy high, that she may listen to and trust her inner wisdom for guidance on a regular basis. She's created many healing opportunities for herself and so many others. Interestingly, I have ancient memories of being with Karen and other holistic health professionals as we used natural ways to heal people way back then. I distinctly remember being in an open-air type of healing temple with sisters, priestesses, anointing one another and helping those in need. There were flowers and crystals and oils and music and laughter, such pure joy. I have a deep knowing, a connection with some of the heartfelt healers I am now associated with. Whether it was Egyptian, Grecian, probably Atlantean or Lemurian times, we've been together before, and many are gathering again to share with one another that we may be of assistance to humanity at this pivotal time in history. It seems that many are struggling with increasing health issues today. Our physical body is essential to human life on Earth, and it is important that we take care of this vessel to sustain health and in the process gain experience, which leads to awareness. In a session with Jesus, he told me there is a cure for every disease, and the cure is unique to each individual. There are many who have healed themselves from debilitating illnesses with natural remedies and mental emotional shifts. Integrating medical and holistic practices amplifies the healing journey. Many use lifestyle changes, body movements, Reiki, special magnets, toxic substance elimination, mindfulness practices, including hypnosis and energy clearing techniques, to heal themselves across all levels: physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. Yet many currently live their lives with such fear, they become numb to their emotions and develop strong coping skills to exist in a world that is bombarded with chronic negativity. Making ourselves emotionally numb can lead to destructive behaviors as we try to avoid underlying feelings of sadness, depression, anxiety, anger, or even hate. Some reach for substances to ameliorate their pain, which causes additional health issues on all levels. Many clients see us for issues related to low vibrational energies, especially those rooted in fear, which leads to worry, stress, insomnia, and addictive behavior, all resulting in poor health. When individuals work to raise their vibrational energy through hope, they ultimately achieve a place of acceptance and contentment, which leads to higher vibrational states of peace, love, and joy. It is relatively straightforward to assist those who possess the courage to want to change themselves. We must also aspire to collectively shift the energy of humanity and are encouraged with opportunities for change offered in the channeled messages from the collective in the Chronicles of Hope series. While my clearing associates and I regularly clear the energy in and around a person's auric field, it is actually up to the individual to actively keep their energy clear and positive. They do this by daily spiritual hygiene, thinking uplifting thoughts, calling on positive energy through prayer or meditation, and asking for assistance from higher sources of wisdom, their wise mind connection. There are infinite numbers of physical and spiritual practices that resonate with individuals to enhance their energy. An essential part of the healing process is for a person to take responsibility for their own healing. Over time, and with consistent effort, people can sustain a lasting change that leads to health and wellness, a transformation that is desperately needed across all of humanity right now. We have the free will to choose for ourselves. When Re, the god of Atlantis, said, "You are the gods," he meant that we are the creators of our own destiny. What we think, say, and do generates creative energy that is made manifest by our intentions. Our thoughts are self-fulfilling. If we focus on negative, fear-based, or angry emotions, we create or magnetically draw more negative situations to us. If we choose to rise above negative situations by focusing on positive thoughts, we can shift our energy to manifest a positive outcome for ourselves and for others. As we discover ways to more directly communicate with our own spiritual awareness, we elevate to a higher vibrational plane, empowering the ultimate cure for ourselves. When we allow ourselves to experience one another through our shared spiritual connection with openness, honesty, and integrity, we create a common consciousness with the ability to collectively manifest a healthy, thriving community. As we share with one another, we will be able to transform this world into a place of peace and harmony. When we learn to trust, believe, and embrace insights from higher sources of wisdom and live our lives with intention, we can and will create a healthy, thriving society. We will begin to establish a foundation of hope for our future, our children's future, and our children's children's future. You are listening to Inspiring Hope with Lois Herman at WSMN 1590.live or 95.3 FM. Please help us share these messages. Watch the videos on my YouTube channel or website, loisherman.com, and join our Hope community for support and inspiration at chroniclesofhope.net.
With no proof anyone could hear, in our hearts a hopeful song we barely understood. Now we are not afraid, although we know there's much to fear. We were moving mountains long before we knew we could. There can be miracles when you believe. Though hope is frail, it's hard to keep. Who knows what miracles you can achieve when you believe. Somehow you will. You will when you believe. In this time of fear, when pressed so often proves in vain, hope seems like the summer bird just too swiftly flown away. Yet now I'm standing here, my heart so full I can't explain, seeking faith and speaking words I never thought I'd say. There can be miracles when you believe. Though hope is frail, it's hard to keep.
Can you believe that's Lucy and Martha Thomas? They're sisters. One is 11 years old and the other is 18. Amazing voices. And today I'm delighted to be joined in the studio by my dear friend and professional colleague, Karen Cerato, a medical professional, holistic professional, business owner, and a master manifester. Karen uses the power of intention on a regular basis to create a life of hope for herself, for so many others. So welcome, Karen.
Thank you, Lois.
Thanks for being here in the studio with me.
Yeah, so glad to be here.
So tell us a little bit about you.
Well, I live locally. I live in Hollis, New Hampshire. I have 2 daughters. They're in college. I'm exploring the life of an empty nester now and all that holds for me. And life has been an interesting ride, I would say. I started off my career as an occupational therapist working in rehab hospitals for about 10 years and really in a very traditional medical model. And that worked for me at the time, and I delved into the physicality of what health seemed to be at the time to me.
Right.
Fast forwarded, had 2 children, was a stay-at-home mom, and that's when the anxiety started to kick in of what am I supposed to be doing? And loving being a mom, loving that whole experience, but feeling like maybe there's something more as well. And so really what I can only attribute to just guidance, I just saw this advertisement one day for a Reiki class, a Reiki certification class. I'd never heard of Reiki. Nobody I knew of had. I'd never had a Reiki session. And I saw it, and something in me nudged me. I nudged myself, or something nudged me, and said, you should do this. And so I did, with going up in complete faith, having no idea. So that really is what catapulted me into integrative medicine. So I fast forwarded with no agenda, just continued to take Reiki certification classes, and things started shifting. And that's what happens when we bring energy work into our life.
Absolutely.
You know that.
We make the commitment, and then things happen. Our lives completely do a 180 sometimes.
Yeah, so it was like first it was like a cracking of the door open. And I tell people all the time, it was almost like a taking of the blinders off. Because I think really that's how my life was like. I had these blinders on. And as somebody special in my life recently said to me, it's really a matter of whether you're tuning in or tuning out. And I just think I wasn't brought up to tune in. It was just really about, you go to school, you get your job, you raise your family, but what about all these unseen things?
Exactly, yeah.
And so, anyhow, I started a Reiki practice, became a Reiki teacher. That led me to yoga. I became a yoga teacher. And I use that word led because I feel like that really is what this whole process, this whole journey has been for me, about being led.
And that's because you're tuning in.
Yeah, you have to.
Yeah, when you start hearing that still small voice and you pay attention to it, it is amazing. As the song says, when you believe, miracles happen, and that drives you or pulls you into a whole new awareness.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really listening, and so that listening, that guidance, just started happening more and more, and I really do attribute it to bringing Reiki into my life. There was just no reason for me to take that class. It was nobody nudging me or saying, it was guidance. So I went from being a person who really was not tapped into my spirituality or my intuition at all to being somebody who started regularly listening. And so it was really that intuition, that nudging that said, you should become a Reiki teacher. You should become a yoga teacher. It's time to leave this job. It's time to leave this relationship. Open a wellness center. When I had really had no business opening a wellness center, without any business background and no business plan other than find good people and do good work.
Yeah, I was with you on that journey. There were 4 of us. I remember when we, how many years ago has that been?
5.5 years.
5.5.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that the space was quite the neglected, dilapidated space, and working, you and Janelle and I pitched in, and we were cleaning and scrubbing, and a lot of work went into transforming kind of the sow's ear into this beautiful, beautiful diamond.
Yeah. Yes, I'm so grateful that you were one of
Yeah.
the 4 founding team members back in 2016 that opened
Yeah.
up the Wellness Center with me, and really I think that it's about manifesting,
Mm-hmm.
not always knowing how you're going to get there,
Mm-hmm.
but knowing, having some, just putting it out there, what you
Right.
want to bring into your life.
And you mentioned something that a lot of people don't realize. A lot of people pray or they ask, but they don't take the time to listen. And that is the key, is our guides are constantly trying to connect with us.
Yeah.
And they nudge us. There's these little signs along the way. And if we ignore them, then they're like, well, I'm just going to, they give up. Or, well, they actually don't. We stop seeing them. But the more we see and acknowledge the signs, the more we are aware of them, and the more we rely on that guidance.
Yeah. And that can be for big things in our life, as I mentioned before, like take the job, leave the job, go into the relationship, leave the relationship, et cetera, et cetera. Go to the doctors. Don't. But even for little things. And I still get surprised on a sometimes daily basis by the little nudges I get. And when I listen to it, I go, oh, that was great.
Yeah.
And when I don't listen to it, and then, of course, something happens, and why didn't I listen to it after all these years?
Yeah.
It's such a reminder.
Yeah, I'd rather not get hit by the 2x4s anymore.
Right? Those spiritual 2x4s that were like, I nudged you, I poked you, I kicked you, and you weren't listening.
You were still too stubborn.
Yes.
And now when you tap in, it just makes life easier when you're paying attention. And I think right now it's critical to stay in that pay attention mode because there's a lot of negative energy out there, and I want to stay in a high vibe. So I choose to avoid. I'm really paying attention to my inner wisdom and energy. And if I'm around a group or people when I walk away and I feel like, ooh, I don't feel uplifted, then it's like, okay, not meant to be there.
Yeah, you need to really listen to that. It's vital. I was just talking to one of my clients, so another part of my work that I do is with biomagnetism.
Yes.
Doing biomagnetic therapy with people with Lyme disease and other infections and toxins and detoxification issues. And really, it's talking about polarity, which is energy work. So when we talk about emotions too and that feeling, I was just talking to a client the other day, and she was really in a fear-based mode.
So many are.
And I said, what could you bring into your life that would be the opposite to create a full circuit? So we have fear, but it's hard to be in a state of fear when we're in a state of joy.
Exactly.
So her body actually shared that with me, that there was fear, but to counteract that and to bring it to a full circle was joy.
Absolutely.
So we talked about what could you do to bring more joy.
And that's what we have to do. We have to consciously step into taking an action to shift it. Otherwise, we just get stuck in that same old hamster wheel. And that's where people have to turn off the TV, go outside, be around people who are uplifting.
Yeah, I really think that it has to be a very conscious choice.
It does.
And I've mentioned to my clients and to my Reiki students over and over again that it's a choice. It's a choice to be in the driver's seat of your life or in the passenger seat. And so I just say, where do you want to be? Do you want to be driving, or do you want to feel helpless in the passenger seat?
Exactly.
So it's a choice, and it's the big choices, but it's also those little ones every day, every hour of every day that we have to make.
Exactly. I know I talk a lot about spiritual hygiene.
Yes.
We wouldn't go out without brushing our teeth. I mean, we
Right.
wouldn't even start the day without brushing our teeth.
Exactly.
And I have encouraged people to also embrace a spiritual hygiene, a spiritual practice, whether it's meditation or prayer, or I have some specific things that I do and I teach people to do, but I don't even get out of bed without setting my intention and doing a spiritual awareness boost for myself for the day. And it turns the day into kind of like a magical treasure hunt. Things happen and it's like, wow, that was kind of cool.
Yeah, and I think I can speak about this personally because I used to not do something if I felt like I couldn't do it 100% perfect or if I wasn't going to be good enough at it. So a lot of my Reiki students or my clients that I do the biomagnetism with feel that they are hesitant because they're not quote unquote spiritual enough. I'm not deep enough. I'm not tuned in enough. And I'm like, it doesn't even have to be this big thing. Like, write down 3 things you're grateful for and 3 things that you want to happen for the day.
Absolutely.
You know, bring some rituals in your life, whether it's sitting quietly and looking at the bird feeder every morning before you pick up your phone.
Absolutely.
Just tune in instead of tuning out. So turn the TV off. Even turn the music off. Like, sometimes we just try to get away from what's happening within.
Or we try too hard. And I often say, for those of us who have had a background of perfectionism, I say practice makes permanent. It's not about perfection. The more we do it, the more it becomes a pattern, a habit, and that's all we need is a pattern that is useful for us. That's what overrides the patterns that were destructive for us. So we just have to. But you're right. It's about choice. What do I choose for this moment in time?
It really is. And so I started teaching Reiki classes because I realized that people were coming in week after week for Reiki sessions, and they wanted me to heal them. They use those words, which I never use. I don't feel that I'm a healer. I'm just a partner in healing, but not a healer. And so I finally started teaching Reiki classes to really work myself out of a job, to say, if you want to do healing, you want to bring healing into your life, you need to learn this healing work.
Exactly. I call myself a healing facilitator.
Yeah, exactly.
Because the people who heal are the best and the fastest are the ones that embrace their own. They're responsible for their own healing. The people who just want me to fix them, I say, I'm so sorry. That's not what I do.
Yeah.
I can help you to fix yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it goes the same way with my clients that I do the biomagnetism with. I tell them that, I'm doing perhaps 50% of the work with the magnet therapy, but honestly, it's what they do when they leave. And in the 2 weeks in between our sessions, what are they doing? And definitely, obviously, the food that they're eating and what they're drinking, how much sleep, the basics. But what are the thoughts that they're thinking, and the words that they say, and the people they're surrounding themselves with?
Yeah, absolutely.
And about personal boundaries. Which I can say with all truth that I had very little personal boundaries when I was younger. I really just wasn't, I don't think it was something back in the 60s, 70s, and 80s that was really talked about. It was just be a nice girl, get good grades, get a good job.
Get a good husband.
Who
will provide for you.
Will take care of you.
Yes.
And hey, not to knock that. That model works or doesn't. But there was that nudge.
And you have daughters now.
I have daughters now.
As do I. And so we took what we were taught and changed it a little bit. So I now have an amazing daughter who is completely independent. She's married to this fabulous man. But that woman, she's lighting the world on fire.
Right.
And she knows that she has those choices. And it is always amazing to find out what she has picked up indirectly over the years from me modeling a different type of behavior.
My daughters, the strength that they have, their own personal boundaries. Like they set boundaries with me all the time. And I go, oh, you're right. Thank you for reminding me. Their sense of self, they can be strong in themselves with or without a partner. It's just so many things. There are a lot of people that talk about the future generation or this generation. Oh, it's doomed. And I say, no way. I see them. They have a lot of conviction. I don't know. I just see a lot of strength, and I have a lot of, I wouldn't even say hope. I just have a lot of belief.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit more about the biomagnetic therapy?
Sure. Yeah. So biomagnetism has been around for quite a while, but it was back in the 1980s that a Mexican doctor, Dr. Goiz, started working with the power of biomagnetic pair therapy. Whereas before, magnets were used, even back in the, Cleopatra used to wear one on her third eye between her eyebrows for headaches, and they were used by cultures for thousands of years. But it was Dr. Goyes that really, in Mexico, who really started to understand about the power of putting magnets together and creating what we call polarity. So one magnet being of negative power, one magnet being of positive power. And when placed in specific locations on specific body parts, how it brought homeostasis or balance to the body. And then specific illnesses, infections, viruses, bacteria, parasites, funguses, and molds, the body came to homeostasis, and those pathogens were released from the body. So he worked a lot with HIV and with cancer and various infections, and even did work with NASA. So that evolved, and his work just spread into the United States. So I got trained with Joan Randall initially for the Lyme Magnetic Protocol up in Woodstock, Vermont. And I was trained back in 2016. And then I went on to train with Dr. Luis Garcia in New York in 2020. Again, with just another widening the approach.
Absolutely.
So it's fascinating. It really, and people are like, magnets, really? But I say it's really not that complicated. Our bodies are made up of electromagnetic energy.
We sure are.
Yeah, I mean, and everybody knows that. That's like a fact. And the Earth is electromagnetic energy.
Absolutely.
So it's
and these
tapping into
magnets
this.
are from the Earth too. Are they from? Are they not from Spain? Is that what I've understood, that they're actually mined? These are minerals from the Earth that are used?
Well, some of the magnets I have are from there. Yeah,
Okay.
a lot of them. And so I have various types of magnets, but yes, a lot of them are mined. And it's incredible. I mean, every single day I'm amazed with what I do and how it works.
Yes.
And it's just wonderful. So people say, well, what's your typical caseload? I'm like, well, it's definitely Lyme disease, but it's also people who don't even have Lyme. You pick up bacteria from the food that you eat. Just being human to human, interacting in society, we pick up stuff. We pick up molds and funguses and viruses.
And also with Lyme, I know that a lot of times it's not just the Lyme, it's the co-infections.
Exactly.
That there are many co-infections that are not, that they don't show up on the traditional allopathic tests. Is that correct?
It is correct. Yes, the testing, like they're trying to get better with it, but it is limited. It also relies a lot, oftentimes, on an intact immune system response. And so if someone's been sick for a long time, either their immune system is on overdrive, so it's showing an overreaction,
Right.
or it's not showing a reaction because it's just it's functioning poorly. And I think what's really important to mention is that Lyme disease is not great, for sure. But most of us are walking around with some type of Lyme or Lyme co-infection. It's really about also looking at what is the body burden. So somebody who has collected a lot of, say, strep in their lifetime, various herpes infections, mononucleosis, which is a type of herpes, mercury, which is so common in other heavy metals. Really, that's the people who get the sickest when they're infected with Lyme, is that they've accumulated a backpack full of stones that they're carrying around, and it just gets to be too heavy. So it's going through piece by piece.
And so when you see people, they come in and you take some of this burden off layer by layer.
Exactly. Commonly use this analogy of an onion. We're peeling back layer by layer. And so some people come in and say right away, I want you to go right to the Lyme disease. And I say, well, I'm just going to do whatever your body prioritizes first. So we use a type of a scanning or a type of inquiry of the body, which is called muscle testing or kinesiology, and asking the body what's present and what's the priority to do today.
We have several people at the center
Yes.
who are biomagnetic therapists, and you are masters of kinesiology. I tell you what, it is fascinating. If you've ever experienced people using dowsing with pendulums or other things, and you use the feet, and I love it because I'm sensitive with my body, and when I've experienced this, I was one of the earliest guinea pigs because I was with you and Janelle in the center when you were first learning to do this,
Right.
and this subtle movement, the body can tell. So you need to explain it, but I just can sense how one of my legs will go a little tiny bit shorter than the other when you're asking a question, and I don't even know what you're asking.
Right.
But my body will respond to your questions. It's fascinating.
It is fascinating. Muscle testing has been used by it's been used by so many different types of providers: chiropractors, naturopaths, homeopaths. The list goes on. and on. And typically someone would hold their arm out,
Right.
and you press down on their arm and you elicit a yes or no response.
Correct.
But if you're doing that like 500 or 600 times, like I'm doing in a single session, the person's arm's going to get really tired. So we found this fantastic way of doing it. Dr. Goy's found this way, whereas you just have the person lay on their back and they can be sleeping, and you just pick up their feet, just like 3 to 6 inches. And when you ask a question, if the body says yes, the right leg actually shortens, and when the body says no, the legs stay the same length when you lift them up. So I thought it was a bunch of woo-woo myself when I first learned it. But really what it's come down to now is this trusting, is dropping what I know, dropping what I think, getting out of ego, and emptying myself and just asking.
And being open to listening. So this is, you
Full
have
circle.
trained yourself to truly
Yeah.
listen to the wisdom in another's body as well as your own.
Yeah, and Lois, but I come here like just in such a human state because it's a daily thing for me. I'm an analytical person. I think, I analyze, I ruminate too much, I worry, like all the things. And so that's my path in this lifetime. My lessons I'm learning is to trust, is trust. And when I am in that state of trusting, everything flows, and it comes back to the homeostasis and balance. And isn't that what we're doing with all of these things?
Absolutely.
Whether
Helping to
it's-
get people
yeah.
back into a state of balance.
Exactly.
Across all the different levels.
Yeah, whether it's
Absolutely.
Reiki or yoga or magnets, it's about balance. So.
And it's been fascinating to watch the center grow because when we first started, I was there doing the hypnosis and energy work, and you were doing initially Reiki and yoga.
Yes.
And Janelle was doing Ayurvedic.
Yeah.
And then she was the first one to learn
Yeah.
the biomagnetics. And then we had Lisa, who was massage. And now, tell us about how many people
Right.
are there. We've seen people
Yeah.
come and go, and we've expanded, 3 different times?
Yes. Yep. Big shout out, first of all, to Janelle Salzman.
Oh, yes.
I wouldn't be doing the biomagnetic work, biomagnetic pair therapy, if it wasn't for Janelle Salzman. She got trained herself, I believe, back in 2015. And we both have the same background as occupational therapists. I trained her as a Reiki master as well, her Ayurvedic. And she's the one that came to me and said, you need to be doing this work. So
She was guided to do it. She was one of the first
She was
people.
guided.
And she's like, I heard about this.
Yeah.
I just know I need to learn
Yes.
this.
Yeah.
I remember her ruminating herself over, this is where I feel like I need to be.
Yes.
And now she is one
Yeah.
of the premier
Exactly.
teachers, et cetera.
In the country.
Yeah.
Yeah, she really is fantastic.
Wow.
So I wanted a big shout out for her. So again, it was such an organic process. Started with 4 of us, as you mentioned, in one suite in the old Telegraph building here on Main Street. And then within 3 months, took a second suite and brought on some more people. Dr. Laura Chan, our naturopathic doctor,
Who also does acupuncture.
acupuncture,
Yeah.
who's also a Qigong master.
Oh, yeah.
She joined, and that just shifted, I think really shifted our mission of
Absolutely.
our center to have a naturopathic doctor in the caliber she is in the acupuncture work. And so then a couple years later, it was time to grow again. And again, no agenda, but good people doing good work. So now we have 12 providers. We have a medical doctor, Dr. Heather Tallman-Room. We have a nurse, a massage therapist, a therapist, a pelvic rehabilitation therapist, a nutritionist, and of course we have you. And we have, like as you mentioned, we have 3 people doing the biomagnetic pair therapy.
Yeah, you guys are busy.
So we're pretty busy. Yeah, we have about a 4 to 6 month, about a 6-month wait list right now to get in. But there's so much work that people can be doing pre-work before getting in. So really the message out there is bring balance into your life.
Absolutely.
Not just work.
Do what you can to
Yeah.
create your own life of balance.
Exactly.
I think that's what 2020 has done for a lot of people. It slowed a lot of people down to where it threw many people into fear, but it also threw other people into really analyzing what's important
Yeah.
and slowing them down just enough to say, where do I want to go from here?
And I think it happened on such a macro level, 2020. I know for myself, there were things I said, do I still want to be doing that in my life? Or what does this mean to me? But I think people laugh at me all the time, but I tell my students, I tell my friends that on a micro level, we need to be doing that, checking in with ourselves. So sometimes it'll literally be on an hourly basis. I'll just stop. It'll be very brief. And I'll say to myself, what do I need right now? What would serve me? What would support me? Because I can't offer out this work to my clients. I can't be the kind of mother I want to be, the friend, the partner, if I'm not bringing myself to balance.
We need to restate that, because people don't realize that if they're not taking care of themselves and their needs and their own inner knowing, then what good are they to anybody else? There's this sense of, oh, if I just give to everybody else, and that's that old paradigm that needs to change.
It's so old, and I really think it really comes from a place of us, again, being brought up in that generation of don't be selfish, don't brag, and put everybody ahead of yourself. So I tell people, taking care of yourself isn't selfish, it's selfful, like being helpful to self.
Right.
And
I love that.
Yeah,
That's
selfful.
yeah.
It just came to me one day. I was like, it's selfful.
May I borrow that?
Take it. Because they say that there's never, any new energy or information.
No.
It's just somehow somebody else must have said it, who knows when, but it came to me.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, so being selfful. So it
Yes.
really is like almost on an hourly basis. What do I need? Water, electrolytes, food, quiet, go outside, sun on my face. Like the list goes on and on. I just have to live my life that way. Yeah.
I notice that I do that now, where I'm working from home, and I come in the center on occasion, but
Yes.
I'm mostly working from home. And in between clients, I have the beautiful opportunity of going outside in my bare feet, sitting in my gardens with my feet on the ground, because I'm on the computer and I'm dealing with a lot of intense energy. And if I go out and sit there with the birds and the bees and the flowers and the trees and the moon up above, and I sit there with my feet on the ground, it just... I can just take, 2 minutes.
Yeah.
It doesn't, a sip of a little tea, something, but I will go and escape into nature. And that is such a grounding, earthing is called also, but it's a way to just nurture self so that now I can be present for my next person.
Absolutely. And it just takes us out of that whole paradigm of you got to work harder and harder and harder. And maybe there is something about like work smarter. Right. And smarter doesn't mean just pounding yourself into the ground so that by the end of the day, you're just useless to
Again,
yourself.
that's that old paradigm.
It's an old paradigm.
So we're getting more into that elevated, I want to call it 5D paradigm shift, where we're more tapped into the energy of that high vibe. I talk a lot about vibration and vibrational frequency, because when we are vibrating at a higher level, we are more tuned in, we're more aware of what's going on around us, and more able to hear and sense our vibrational messages coming from the high vibe guides. If you look at the chart of emotions from power versus force, when you're down here resonating at that low vibe of fear, anger, guilt, shame, you can't really listen because your energy is too low. We have to systematically, as you said, choose to work on ourselves to bring our energy high enough to where these amazing messages can come down and we can tap into them.
It's so vital. And it's become to the point now where it's hard for me on a personal level to have too much negativity in my life. And I can go there myself too, but I am pretty good now at catching myself. And Lois, again, a big shout out to you, because back in 2016, when there was a lot going on in my personal life, it was you that really, you sat me down and you said, I want you to say these positive affirmations to yourself as many times a day as you need to. And there were like several of them that worked so much for me. And I still find myself either going back to those or going to new ones. And even like this morning on my way in, I started getting a little nervous, like, oh, I hope this goes okay with Lois.
Of course it's
and
gonna
then
go okay.
then I said to myself, you have everything you need inside of you.
Absolutely.
And I said, just breathe through your feet, get grounded. You got this, Karen. You got this. And there you go. Shifted.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And doing this now for, goodness, it's almost been 2 years. It just is, to me, it's just a conversation with a friend.
Just a conversation.
And it goes so fast.
Yeah.
And there's so much to share because I have such incredible friends that have so much experience.
Yeah.
And that's part of it, is there's so many people that I am meeting that they have no one to talk to, and they're so stuck in their fear. And what we need to do is share. We're sharing your insights that are significant for you, and they may be little, but one of those little nuggets just may make a difference for somebody who's listening.
And that happened for me too. And we show up as helpers for each other.
And that's important.
Yeah.
It truly is to have that tribe of people that you can trust to share, that has your back, that you feel really comfortable with, especially right now. Yeah.
I think it's really also about getting unstuck. Because so many of us just get stuck in, this is the way it's always been, this is the way it's always going to be, and I'm never going to do this, or I always do that. And just watching that looping that we do, that mental looping. And so I often say in my Reiki classes, like, let's take that little tape recorder, because you younger listeners don't have tape recorders, but it was my favorite thing growing up.
Yes.
The little cassette tape. And so I visualize it, and I imagine press the stop, and then rewind, and let's re-record a new message. So catch yourself with the thoughts you think, because like you said, they run through your body like they are an energy frequency.
They are, absolutely.
Yeah.
So rewind and replay.
Re-record.
Re-record. Yeah, because we have that every moment of every day. We can choose again.
Yeah.
It takes that mindfulness, though, to make that choice. It takes courage. I hold a group that we pull these little tiny angel cards, and one of the cards that was pulled yesterday was the angel of courage, and she is diving headlong into whatever.
Yeah.
And that's what it takes, is that leap of faith. I'm going to consciously make a different choice today. For this moment of time, maybe tomorrow I'll go back to the old, but for this moment of time, I'm going to consciously choose a new choice.
And it's scary because it feels safer when we stay with what we know, and honestly, when we stay small, because we're not meant to stay the same. We're meant to grow and change and morph and evolve, but it's scary. And I can speak to that because it's been a big something for me too, that stepping into the fear, leaning into it. So I have a magnet, I'm sure you've all heard this before, but it's on my refrigerator, and it says, do one thing every day that scares you. And that one thing doesn't have to be go jump off the cliff. It might be go have that conversation you don't want to have. Go sit in that coffee shop by yourself and have a cup of coffee or tea, and sit in the uncomfortable nature of being with self, and don't pick up your phone. And so when I was like a newly divorced woman, and I had no idea how to navigate that, I would force myself to do things that are uncomfortable, go to restaurants, sit by myself, don't pick up the phone, try to get more comfortable with being uncomfortable. It's the only way to transform.
Speak to a stranger, that you're called to speak to, because you never know what is that connection. Yeah. And walk away from drama. That's another big one. You and I both have had different people in our lives that have created drama. And the old paradigm is, if we just change, we'll make it better. We can make it better for someone else.
We can fix it for them.
We can fix it for them.
Yeah.
And that is one of the lessons as we evolve, that we realize that, no, I can't fix it for anyone else. I'm happy to help someone with their issues if they're choosing to change with the skills that I have developed over the years. But I can never fix another person.
I know. I just had somebody come in this week who was starting the magnet protocol with me, and I came to learn that they were drinking alcohol every day and smoking cigarettes, and so I just said, this isn't going to work, because this is up to you, about choosing life, choosing health, and not being sabotaging your own journey to wellness. So I said, this is up to you. But knowing, it was so refreshing to be able to say, I don't have to. It's not my job to fix you.
No,
it isn't my job.
Now, you're going to laugh at this, because I've been on this journey. You and I, we're both on this amazing spiritual evolution journey. I quit drinking. I used to have a glass of wine a night, or most nights, and I completely quit drinking months ago. I was out celebrating my son's birthday the other night, and I had a glass of wine. I had a Cosmo. No big deal. I was sloppy. By the time I left, I'm like, oh my gosh, I've turned into a featherweight. I used to be able to drink people under the table, not anymore. The next day, I'm like, I need to do a foot soak to get this stuff out of my body. It really when we make these choices, we get high on something else. I didn't really
Yeah.
need that, but it was just like, oh, that's what I always used to do. But, just to have a drink or two. Yeah, my body said, you don't need this.
Yeah, it's really like, eyes wide open. I say,
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, you choose that drink, you choose that sugar, you choose that relationship.
Right.
Do it with your eyes wide open, and know that it's like banking. Deposits and withdrawals. If you're going to have some alcohol, that's a withdrawal. You better deposit some serious, good energy.
Yes,
the next
exactly.
day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then also knowing when the eyes wide open, when the relationship or the situation no longer works for you, and giving yourself permission to step away.
Yeah.
When something just does not feel right, honor yourself.
Right.
And not allow someone else to take your energy down, because we have to keep ourselves up right now.
Yeah, and it can be. It could be like that relationship or that job. Could even be something even smaller, like just constantly. How does this make me feel? Do I feel heavier? Do I feel lighter? Does this bring me joy? Does this bring me down? It could be something small or something huge in your life. But if you're tuning in and not tuning out, you'll get these messages.
Yes.
And life can be so much more rewarding. And again, feeling like I was so in the passenger seat. Everybody drove the car, and I just was always in a state of reacting. And so it takes a lot of work, but I wouldn't trade it now to be in the driver's seat of my life.
And now what we're doing is we're helping others to drive their own car, their own vehicle, motorcycle, whatever.
Whatever.
Yeah, they're
bicycle.
choosing. Yes.
Yeah.
So what? You have a special event coming up that is pretty magical.
Yes.
Can you share?
Yeah. So, I don't know where this came from, but so kind of just spontaneously, Dr. Laura Chan, the naturopathic doctor and acupuncturist at the Wellness Center, and Janelle Salzman, I spoke of, the three of us have decided to run a retreat to Costa Rica. It's going from Saturday, January 29th to Saturday, February 5th, 7 nights in Costa Rica. And it's titled Ancient Wisdom for Modern Balance.
Wow.
So bringing in daily, we'll be doing I'll be teaching the yoga classes. We'll have Qigong with Dr. Chan, and Janelle will be doing Ayurveda. And we'll be going on some excursions to the ecothermal hot springs. It's a magical place. And one of the blue zones, there's only about 4 or 5 blue zones in the country where people live the longest and live the healthiest of lives. There's just a high energy vibration there. So we're super excited about this
That's
inaugural
exciting.
retreat. Yeah.
Now, how can they find out about this?
Yeah, so go to our website, www.nhhealthwellness.com, and go under classes and events, and you'll see retreats there. We're bringing 16 people with us, and it's halfway full as we speak.
Wow.
Yeah, and we
That's
just launched it.
exciting.
Yeah, we just launched it 3 days ago.
Yeah.
So I think I just know it'll be a wonderful time.
Many people know and are grateful for all of the people, the contributors at New Hampshire Health and Wellness Center. It has become such a foundation in the area. So many people have amazing stories of healing. From the center, and the beautiful part is it's a collaborative.
I was just going to say
we all share. As I'm doing an interview with someone that's coming to see me for a habit that they want to change, and I'm listening to them. I'm thinking, oh my goodness, they really need to see one of the magnet protocol specialists to check for their Lyme. Or do nutrition, whatever.
Right.
But we share, and because we realize that we're the village.
Exactly. I think the power, the magic of the center comes that we come from a place of we and not me.
Exactly.
So if someone comes to work with me and I think, you know what, I'm not the first stop for them. They need to go see somebody else, or in conjunction with my work.
Correct.
There's no incentive for us to refer to each other in the center other than it's the best thing for the client, and we believe in the other provider's work. So that's the magic of the center, is that it's such a highly collaborative, and I don't find there's another place around like that really operates that way. So we're very, very fortunate, and I'm just supremely grateful that the universe guided me to open this up with you and Janelle and Lisa at the time, and again, just going on, I have no agenda, just follow the process, trust the process,
Trust the guidance.
trust the guidance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are there any other suggestions? We have about a minute left. Any other thoughts that you'd like to share?
Just be gentle with yourself in this process. That was some advice given to me a long time ago, that I should be doing this and I should be doing that. And you can always beat yourself with those shoulds. So be curious about listening to guidance. Be gentle when you perhaps you didn't listen or you choose something different. You'll learn something valuable from the choices, whatever choice you make, you'll learn something. So be curious and be gentle with yourself and trust the process.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Karen.
Thank you,
This has been
Lois.
fun. It's
I
been
had a great time.
long overdue for you to
I
be here, but it's,
know.
that we're just having this conversation, sharing what we know, what we've experienced to be true. And I would invite everybody to investigate nhhealthwellness.com, and all the providers are there. You've got Reiki classes that are oftentimes booked out. I send a lot of people for Reiki.
Thank
to
you, Lois.
Yeah. So until next time, everyone, please look up, stay positive, and be the light in someone's day. God bless.
Thank you.
Thank you.